Hey, I hear all this stuff about Carole Baskin, and it's funny because I actually interviewed her 6 years ago, and I went and visited Big Cat Rescue in Tampa, like not long after that. And there's a bunch of stuff in that Netflix thing that I don't agree with, and is definitely not what it's like if you've been there. And I know no one's been there since the documentary because it was after they closed, but yeah. So I was going to go through some of my theories and what I thought about it, but you know what? I don't think this is the best format, me standing here in front of this thing. Let's try something else. Yeah, let's try something else, Birdie. Where do you want to start? I guess at the beginning? Crazy beginning. Yeah, the crazy beginning. I never actually met her in person, but we talked for a long time.
Google Glass. Can you believe that?
Yeah, so it all started back in about 2016. 2016, I think.
It's another episode of This Week in Google Glass, episode number 33, Big Cats in Glass. We're going to have a lot of fun. We got a guest on.
There was this thing, Google Glass, and we had a podcast of all things, right, about Google Glass, and it was video, and we were bringing people on, and it was interesting. Me and a friend of mine, Jeffrey Powers, he started the thing.
As always, I have my cohort, my master of ceremonies and crime right here to the right of me, Mr. Luke Wallace. How you doing, Luke?
Crazy. We were always looking for people that were using glass, and this lady contacted him, said she used glass, watched the show. It was, her name was Carole Baskin, and she ran this tiger sanctuary down in Florida.
Carole Baskin, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
Hi, I'm the founder and CEO of Big Cat Rescue. We're the world's largest accredited sanctuary dedicated entirely to big cats.
She's got Google Glass, and she's going around taking videos of, these big cats, tigers, a lot of tigers, and bobcats and stuff. I don't know.
Hey, it was a guest. It's what you do.
When I first saw Google Glass come out, I put myself on the list for them because I thought this could really enhance our ability to share everything that we do with the cats. Because most of the time when I'm involved in something with the cats, I'm having to hold up my iPhone, which is what I use for most of our filming, and I can't catch a cat with phone in one hand and the net in the other hand, and I can't work with the vet when they're doing surgery and that sort of thing and risk dropping a phone into the middle of all of that. So I was just so thrilled when finally my time came up and I was able to purchase one of these sets. And I've just been trying out everything I can think of to find new ways that we can use it in taking care of the big cats out of the sanctuary.
Find people and you put them on the show. And so, hey, she came to us and thought it'd be cool.
I'm really, really excited about these things becoming available to the public because I'd love to have our staff and our key volunteers be able to answer their email and share the photos and videos back and forth without having to reach into their pockets.
Seemed pretty interesting.
We thought, hey, it's pretty neat, it's different. Definitely something that we could use.
Carole, so you've been a glass explorer for a while. What are some of the interesting things you've seen with glass from other explorers?
I'm actually very, very new to this. I think I've had them for maybe 2 weeks at the most.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In fact, your show has been where I've gotten the most video of what people are doing and talking about.
Yeah, she doesn't hide her past. She's not telling people that she never did this.
So Carole, interesting lady. So originally she was a breeder, and yeah, it doesn't sound good because she's against breeding. It's a long time ago though, and actually they don't hide any of that at Big Cat Rescue. She doesn't hide her past; it's all there. Her story is pretty out in the open, and I mean she tells it herself at Big Cat Rescue. You know, she's not proud of it, but what's she supposed to do? Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And actually, they don't hide that at Big Cat Rescue. Yeah, she doesn't really hide her past. So, I don't know. Big signs that say talk about the history of it, how she got into it, where she got the original animals that they had. They don't like the thing made it sound like it was some sort of secret past that she had, but she's pretty upfront about it as a thing that she used to do, and doesn't really like talking about too much now, except to say it was a bad idea, and even she had bad ideas before. She's not hiding much. I don't know. It's all kind of out there. She doesn't really do that. She says she changed her mind. How hard is it to change your mind? Oh, come on, man. That was 20 years ago. Like, people change. People change. Yeah, it's interesting to see her take on it. Riding her bike to work? Ah, come on. Crazy people do that. That's just for crazy people. You know, and apparently the other thing that's bad is that she rides her bike to work, which, as somebody who rides their bike to work,
I ride my bicycle back and forth to work. It's 6 miles each way.
yeah, it sure seems like a horrible thing. Riding a bike to work, that's the thing? That's the thing that makes her look crazy? Very singularly focused on cats, but she didn't come across as too crazy, except crazy about cats, and just loved taking care of them and hated people who were treating them bad. I'm sure Joe Exotic was one of those guys, even back when we were talking to her. On our program, she mentioned that one thing she really loved was how they stay wild. How they can turn in an instant and just get violent. And
You know, I don't have a favorite cat, but my favorite species is the bobcat, because they can go from just being absolutely adorable and loving you to pieces to just ripping your face off, and they do it like that.
she really liked how they stayed wild. That's kind of interesting. She didn't like them becoming domesticated.
I love their ability to do that shamelessly.
Yeah, I believe it. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot about Joe Exotic there specifically. It was all very generic. She doesn't really talk about him, or she didn't used to. I bet she'll have to now. I bet they'll have to talk about Joe Exotic a lot. People will be asking, all this Joe Exotic stuff. There's a lot of things they talk about in that Netflix show that didn't really seem right. Yeah, those things are big, and they're scary, and I wouldn't want to mess with them. Nah. Yeah, it's probably gonna get me in trouble, but I ate off the meat truck. Yeah, they said that they didn't have kids going on most of the tours because they didn't want something to happen to a small kid, because those animals can turn really fast, and they have little barriers to keep you from getting too close. There's never been anything come out about her getting cheap meat for her cats. Nothing. So they don't talk about this a lot, but if you look, she's not breeding any of them anymore. They don't breed those. It was cool. They don't say she does, but they don't point out that she doesn't. So she's the one place that's being mentioned all the time where they don't actually breed them. No touching. That's one of her big things.
She's just not about that, except for medical treatment when you have to take care of them, and
She's very anti-touch. Very anti-touch.
very limited, not untrained random people doing it.
They make it sound like, oh, they're all breeding them, and yeah, Joe's being mean, but Carole breeds them too. And like, well, they never actually said it, but they also didn't make a big deal about that. But it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, I don't think they do any breeding there. I think it's all just whatever they get, Oh, they have better food there. Yeah, Big Cat Rescue. They spend a lot of money on food.
You got Walmart leftovers, or you got like real meat for a cat.
She brings in doctors too. Not just random people that can get the drugs. Like people that actually know what they're doing. People that, are veterinarians. All the animals she gets are all the ones that were going to be thrown away from celebrities or...
It's kind of funny where the guy who's like breeding them, he can't afford good food for them. So he breeds new cats but uses old food, and she uses new food for old cats.
My point is that she's not breeding the cats, and so people that say, oh, well, it's just as bad, well, they're all rescues. They're not going to be anymore. Eventually, she'll not have any cats left if this stuff stops happening. Like, if they want to put her out of business, it's not too hard. Just stop breeding these cats, or people stop getting these cats and having them in bad situations where then they need to be rescued.
It's kind of funny, I think. Isn't it ironic?
People just take care of their cats, she'll be out of business. But they don't want to talk about that. It's like she's not, she's literally just rescuing things. They talk about how they have these really small cages, but the cages all seemed pretty big, and they had lots of plants in them.
They have a lot of space there. A lot of space for those cats. It's kind of funny.
She has so much room for some of the cats that you can't even see them when you go on the tour, which some people would complain about, but isn't that better for the cats if they can actually go someplace and just chill on their own? The cats could hide, so yeah, you couldn't see as many as you might at a zoo where it's just concrete and fences and they have to be out in front of you. Yeah, these animals are sneaky. They hide in places. Like they could go back and kind of hide in the shade and seem nice. There were some in this 2.5 acre cage. They told us about it, and that's the one where they can really get running really fast all across the cage. 2.5 acres. 2.5 acres for a big cat. That's awesome for the cat. But not using that to put tons of cats on seems like if she just wanted to have more cats, it'd be really easy to divide that up. Really easy to divide up 2.5 acres. That's this fenced in area where they can really get running. And they have these tunnels, not underground, but above ground, made with wire, cage wire. When they wanted the cats to go from the big enclosure to one of the smaller cages, they could basically have them go through this, so then again the people wouldn't have to touch them. That's one of her big things. Yeah, and you can't touch the cats. That's the big thing. She doesn't like you touching the cats. It's one of Carole's big things. You don't touch the cats. Unless you're having to give them shots or take care of them. They showed a day where there were a whole bunch of people at Big Cat Rescue. We went there and it's just a few people walking around. They don't even do big tours. The day that I actually went to Big Cat Rescue, there were only 6 or 7 people, I think, on the tour. It wasn't very many. There were not many people there. I think what they showed was just a special day where they have everybody come out at once. But most of the time, you don't have that. Most of the time, it's a much smaller group. You'd think if she was trying to make more money, she'd be doing more tours or something. And they only do 1 tour a day. If we had to work a whole schedule around being there at the one time during the weekday. I think they do 2 on Saturdays, or they used to. Seems like if she was trying to make a lot more money, she would do a lot more tours. Yeah, they weren't super cheap, but it wasn't that expensive. It's like it'd be pretty easy to just run more people through or have more flexible hours, but it's like, no, they just do 1 tour per day with like 7 people. Wasn't going to be keeping them in business. I remember the tombstones, like a memorial picture and description. Cats that they had that had died, that had been there for years. She really cares about those cats. Like they all have names and a little description of where they came from and how long they had been there and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't just, here's how many people that we got money from, or here's how many cubs we bred out of them. It was about the cats. Oh, she's against crossbreeding too. Apparently ligers and that kind of stuff, and white tigers even. You have to do a lot of fancy crossbreeding, and they were saying that legally you only have to walk an animal once a day, and really it just has to basically turn around, and it doesn't turn out well. They were saying like the internal organs are not usually the right size because they're kind of one or the other, and cats may be too big and the organs are too small, or the other way, and they don't tend to live as long. That's pretty crazy to hear. It's not exactly like the laws are very strict, so bad stuff. Joe Exotic may be within the law, but that's the whole thing. She doesn't think those laws are fair, and so she's trying to change them. Not things you tell people if you're just trying to, butter them up and get a bunch of money and, make them sound like, these are the coolest animals ever, and you should come back and we're going to have some new fancy ones next year. You should, it's like, no, these are rescues, and it's very, very educational. She's trying to raise awareness about what Joe Exotic is doing. She doesn't really talk about him specifically. They're 5 stars on Charity Navigator. I don't know. I always see that as a pretty impartial place. They look at the numbers. They know how to look at the numbers and determine if they're doing things right or wrong. They look at administrative costs and salaries of executives and all that kind of stuff. I think their financials weren't very good for a long time because they didn't really have that much money, and they weren't willing to do tours all the time just to try to make a buck. People came, but mostly during the summer. They're cooking the books. They're doing it really well. They have the stories of all the animals there, about where they came from, what they did, why they're there, who they were from. There are these roadside zoos where they get too big and they get too expensive to feed, and so she takes them in. What a horrible person, taking in something that they might have just shot on the side of the road and figured that no one would ever catch him. 5 stars is their highest rating. But no, they call her and she takes care of them. I don't think she ever got food from a Walmart. How bad can you treat somebody who's volunteering for you? There's no financial incentive. There's nice perks for seeing the tigers and saying that you work there, I guess, but and the only reason you'd work for Joe Exotic is if he's paying you. Like, he doesn't seem like a nice guy. If she can get volunteers, then she can't be too bad, right? You gotta be kind of nice to people to get them to volunteer for you. She doesn't force her volunteers to live there. They all go home, and yeah, she rides to work. Joe Exotic starts yelling at you. What are you supposed to do? Just leave? You're not a volunteer. You're getting paid, and then he'll fire you. Okay, cool. Are there a bunch of disgruntled volunteers? You'd think they'd be pretty easy to find if they were sniffing around. Maybe a bunch of them have come forward, but I haven't seen a whole bunch of volunteers coming forward, and you'd think that there would be something there. I would not volunteer if she was treating me bad. You think there'd be something on all these volunteers coming forward or something? Volunteers there must be saints, because yeah, there's so much competition. I mean, on the one hand, you've got people that basically are being forced out all the time because they slip up and just say something about Joe, not even they mess up the cats or anything. And then on the other hand, you've got all these volunteers that there's a big waiting list to get in and volunteer. So has Joe even tried to get volunteers? It seems weird to criticize the lady who apparently is able to get volunteers to come out and help with the cats. You treat somebody bad, they're not going to volunteer for you. How much abuse will they really take when you're not paying them at all? And they're volunteer. They're not coming in for the money. $0 a day. That's how much he's paying them. 0 a day. And they stick around, so I think it'd be hard to find volunteers if you're treating them bad, and especially so many. Seems like Joe's going through people like crazy, but she's got volunteers that have been there for years, so I don't know. You'd think there'd be something else wrong if she was mistreating them. Husband seems a little weird, though. I'll agree to that, but
It says you're married, so what does your spouse think of what you do?
But she's been married before, so maybe she knows what qualities she was looking for in this one. Took her time on this one a little bit. I would imagine by the third one, you start to get a little pickier. How long they've been married? She didn't really talk about her husband too much on our program.
He's wonderful. My husband and I are the two most opposite people in the entire world. He's a Harvard MBA. He's a retired banker, and he has been the financial genius behind our success.
She said he was really good with the books. I don't know if that meant something else. She told us it was, they'd actually been profitable. I mean, they're non-profit, but you know what I mean. Like, they had enough money to build up in their reserves to cover costs.
We're probably the only sanctuary in the world that actually puts away money every year to make sure that our cats will be taken care of forever. And last year we were able to put away $700,000 in addition to being able to cover our operating costs, which are like $1.5 million. So he's been a huge help to me, despite the fact that he would never in a million years want to go in and net a bobcat.
Yes, Mr. Baskin. How did she take care of him? That's the big question. This guy flew all over the place without registering his flight plans. Didn't even have a pilot's license, maybe? And if she was going to kill him, I think she'd figure out a much smarter way to do it. Just do something to his plane or something like that, so it just couldn't make it to Costa Rica. I don't know. But it couldn't make it anyway? I don't know. It seems like so much easier to do something like that than to try to grind him up in a meat grinder this big. If there's no flight plan and something happens to the plane and he's leaving under the cover of night, how's anyone supposed to know where he is anyway? Did he even have a license? They pretty much said he didn't have a license to fly. So the fact that he's flying at all seems like a problem. So many bad things that could happen. So many bad things. But is that really one of them? Grinding him up and feeding him to the tigers? Come on. That's like the answer from a crazy man. A little home meat grinder? No. No. You ever tried using one of those things? It's a pain. I don't see how she could have. Maybe. I suppose anything's possible, right? It's hard to rule out every possibility, but his theory is the one we should believe. Yeah. Makes sense. Good theory. The theories people have are just crazy. It just doesn't seem like that could possibly be what happened. There's so many easier explanations. You're telling me a guy that goes to Costa Rica regularly, and talks about how he wants to set up a cat rescue, cat something, a zoo, whatever you want to call it. He's told her, we want to set one up down there. He didn't go down there and try to set that up. He left his first wife to be with Carole. She was getting older, 40-ish. Carole comes along, 20-ish. Yeah, Carole's probably just getting old, and he's like, time to move on. Time to move on. Not gonna be dealing with this one anymore.
I think we got to go to Costa Rica.
Now her husband, if he was obsessed with Costa Rica like that, what in the world's going on there? Why wouldn't he have just disappeared to Costa Rica? Like, no one thinks that's what's happened to him? It's so weird.
I think Costa Rica is where it all happens. Something went wrong.
The police assume it's the wife. What else are they supposed to do? They always think it's the wife. Or the husband, if the wife dies.
I feel like something went wrong. Either on the way, that plane that he was flying, who knows what happened to it.
Have you seen the mess that these cats make? Like, there is no way that they would just like kill somebody or eat somebody up and like there'd be no trace of it. How in the world would there not be a trace of it? That's crazy.
Why would you leave the keys in the van unless you weren't coming back? Why wouldn't you take them? You're gonna need them when you get back. So he wasn't planning on coming back. The last thing that he said to the one guy was, if I can pull this off. Come on. He was trying to do something.
Man, if I could get down to Costa Rica and start a life there, you probably don't need that much money to do it, especially if you've been going down there for a couple of years, building some relationships up with people. You hide out in their house somewhere.
Costa Rica. I gotta look at Costa Rica.
Cops come sniffing around maybe for a week or so, and then they're gone. I mean, that's not too hard to hide.
I don't know. I think it's crazy that people would think she did something there.
Has anyone asked if there's any big cat places down in Costa Rica right now? Anybody checked on any of those? No? I didn't think so.
And he's been going down to Costa Rica, and he says he wants to set something up in Costa Rica.
Wait, you're talking about cats? What are we talking about? Cats? Oh, wives. Yeah, that too probably. I don't know.
I think he went down to Costa Rica, or at least tried.
Costa Rica, man, Costa Rica.
Seems like it'd be more obvious if he had a girl down in Costa Rica that he was going to see regularly. That's what Carole says.
There you go, crazy place.
But yeah, he had a girlfriend down there. Makes sense. Some American guy coming in. Lots of money, right? Everybody says he has lots of money, whether he actually had cash or not. Has some big cats. Pictures of him with big cats.
I'd open a big cat place down in Costa Rica. That sounds nice. Who wouldn't want to go down there, especially if you've got connections? And
maybe he disappeared. Maybe he actually got down to Costa Rica and disappeared. I mean, they only investigated for a few days and they came back. That's what they say. That's what they admit.
This guy's been going down there for years? Man, that's crazy. How long has he been going down there? Long time, right? Like it's gonna be tough to pull him away.
Maybe he got into some bad trouble down in Costa Rica. Maybe somebody found out he had some money. Maybe the boyfriend of the girl, when he's not around, said, we can just kill and take his money. And so maybe he got into some trouble down there. Some American dude flying under the radar, literally. What's supposed to happen here? Is he supposed to just turn up and...
Man, if I had $100,000 and somebody in Costa Rica, yeah, I don't know, it's pretty tempting.
Carole was getting about the right age, too. Like, it's kind of what he did the last time, right? Ran off with a younger woman. Seems like he could do that. Maybe the plane just crashed. And going over the ocean like that, you never know. Maybe he had some outstanding debts. Wasn't great with money. It's all Costa Rica. Find some people on that side. They know. They know what happened to him. Mark my words.
I'll tell you one thing. I would never in a million years want to go net a bobcat either. Partially because I'm allergic to cats. I'm going to go with that answer. Yeah, that's the answer I'm going with. Not going to do it because I'm allergic to cats. So.
Well, I'm allergic to cats too, but the big cats don't really cause a problem for people with allergies. So you'll have to come up with a better excuse.
Great.
I'm allergic to things with really big teeth. So
that's a good allergy.
I don't think I could do it either.
Sharp, pointy claws too. Don't want that either.
When they weigh, 2 or 3 times what I weigh and are much stronger and have really sharp teeth and claws, I'm allergic to whatever that is.
Pound for pound, they're 12 times stronger than a man.
Why is there this bear here? Is this your bear? It's not mine. It's a weird thing to have in the shot. Yeah, I don't really get what's going on. Yeah, I didn't have any trophies. I don't have big trophies to myself. I'm not sure why you'd have trophies there.
Well, Carole, thank you very much. It's been an honor. I loved it. It's a great time, and what you're doing. Can't wait to see the videos that come out of your Google Glass, and we'll be watching you and going from there.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Luke.